Good evening. This is your lecture 6, RFIC design. So previous classes we were looking at nonlinearity and effects of nonlinearity, and we covered the nonlinear effects like harmonics, and in the last class we covered gain compression. We also have seen the simulation of these things, how harmonics will be appearing, gain compression, and also we discussed about desensitization on the previous class. So we continue that study of nonlinearity. Even it is an extension of what we have discussed in the previous class. So today we will start with the fourth nonlinearity, that is called as cross modulation. Probably from the name itself, you will get some idea. So this is again another phenomena which occurs that occurs inside a nonlinear system. So as usual, I'll be I'll be considering a nonlinear system, and with system is nonlinear. So input is x of t, output is y of t. Right, now to the system, I'm considering two signals at the input, where one is, so I'm considering two inputs to the system. So one is actually a desired signal, or a desired signal, but it is very weak. So I assume that this is a weak desired signal. Uh, Another signal which is accompanying this desired weak signal is a little strong interferer. So instead of considering it as a simple strong interferer, we are considering that signal. Yeah, it is a strong interferer appearing at omega 2, and omega 2, say for the time being we are assuming that omega 2 and omega 1 are little close. Now instead of considering this as a single tone, right, I am considering the frequency which is accompanying as a modulated signal. So that is why I have used this notation. I hope you understood that. So this is actually a strong interferer. It is a strong interferer which is modulated. So just to understand nonlinearity, I am considering various cases. It is not like we will be receiving a signal which is a pure tone, right? Even the signal whatever we receive also will be modulated. So but now we are looking at the effect, or how this strong interferer which is modulated is going to affect your weak signal is what we are looking at here, right? So to understand this, yeah, so let me write the condition here. Here actually there is a nonlinear system and a weak signal and a strong interferer. A weak signal and a strong interferer is applied to a nonlinear system here. Now if you observe the output, when the output is observed in this case, what we understand is, so let me plot the output here. So this is your weak signal and this is a strong interferer, but it is observed that when these two are applied to a single nonlinear system, the modulation which is on the signal which is at omega 2 is transferred. The modulation which is there is actually transferred to the desired signal, which is not really a desired one, right? That the transfer of modulation is not a desired one, but it is observed that when a strong interferer which is modulated is kept, or is when it is going along with the weak signal, the modulation is getting transferred from this interferer to this weak signal. Now when the modulation is getting transferred, so let me picturize in this form, something like this. So modulation is getting transferred. That means the original data is actually corrupted. So this is a nonlinear effect. Again, to understand this, I'll take the help of the equations what we have written before. Say since I have two signals, I'll write y of t as alpha 1 plus 3 by 2 alpha 3 a2 square into a1 cos omega t, which is by neglecting that a1 what is that, neglecting that a1 cube term, right, as in the previous class. I hope you follow that. Right. So here we have just neglected one term, which is that term. Yes, 3 by 4 alpha 3 a1 cube term I am neglecting for the reason that this is very weak here. A1 is very weak, but still, yeah, this is the rest of the part. Now I'm not considering harmonics or any other intermodulation component, looking only at the fundamental gain term. So I am just looking at the fundamental gain term. Right. Why am I looking only at fundamental gain term? Because I'm interested to know what is happening to the weak signal at the frequency omega 1 itself. And it is observed that the modulation is being transferred. So just to verify that, what I'm doing here is I'm assuming A1 as a pure tone, right? For simplicity, for in order to do this analysis, A1 is a pure tone, so it is A1 itself, and A2, since it is modulated, I am taking it is an amplitude modulated wave. So the amplitude A2 is modulated using a signal. So the expression can be written something like this: 1 plus m cos omega mt, where m is a modulation index. I hope you are familiar with this expression through your CS1, CS2 classes, right? Now this is what is going to the system. So you have A1 and A2. So A1 is A1 itself, assuming it as a pure tone, and A2 is a modulated signal. Now if you do this mathematics here, so I can write this y of t here as alpha 1 plus 3 by 2 alpha 3. In place of A2, I will write it as A2 into 1 plus m cos omega mt, right? This is square, right? And this entire term is multiplied with a1 cos omega 1t, right? Now when you expand this, when you write this or write all the terms from this, I can just expand in this form. It is alpha 1 plus so anyway, a1 cos omega 1t is there outside. I'll just write the terms which is inside the bracket, square brackets. So it is alpha 1 plus, it is 3 by 2 alpha 3, and inside you have a2 square. So a2 square is common to the inside bracket, right? So I'll write a2 square also together here. 3 by 2 alpha 3 a2 square, and then I have a term which is 1 plus m cos omega mt the whole square. That can be written as 1 plus m square by 2 plus, again it is 1 plus m cos omega mt the whole square. You understand a plus b the whole square expansion, and when I do that, it will be m square by 2 into cos 2 omega mt plus 2m cos omega mt. This is the terms inside the bracket, and outside this is the entire amplitude to your a1 cos omega 1t, right? So what I can see here is when I closely observe this, at the output I am looking at the signal a1 cos omega 1t, but not just a1 cos omega 1t, but an amplified version of that. But by considering the interferer, the strong interferer as modulated, I can come to the conclusion that even this a1, the amplitude of the signal appearing at the output is also getting affected because of these terms. Or in fact, all these are these represent, so 1 plus m square by 2 m square by 2 cos 2 omega mt. So these are in fact affecting, or these are in fact modulating your signal which is available at the output, which is at A1, right? So this phenomena we generally call as cross modulation, because the modulation is being transferred from the interferer to the weak signal which is at the output, right? So if you ask me this question, whether this is applicable only for amplitude modulation, yes, in that case I'll give a I'll just give an exercise for you guys, including the previous day's homework. I don't know how many of you solved this, so no need to discuss answer here. One second. Yes, so I'll be starting a discussion for this question in the canvas. You can reply there. Along with that, you can reply for this as well. So we have seen the case of amplitude modulation, but what about other modulation? What if the phase is modulated? Will this happens? Right. So such things we will discuss further. Now, I hope you understand what is meant by cross modulation when two signals appearing at the input, and those things when it passes through a nonlinear system, modulation is being transferred, which is mathematically we can see using this equation, and we can say that A1 is affected by the A1, the amplitude is being affected by a signal, or in fact this itself is again a amplitude modulated wave, right? So I hope that is clear. So if you have doubts, you can ask, you can put in the chat box, or else we'll open for the discussion at the end of this class. All right. Now, and this cross modulation is in fact, it is a very common phenomena, especially in amplifiers which process many signal channels. So when they process it, this phenomena is very common. That is why we are even discussing this cross modulation here, right? Now, as I mentioned, along with cross modulation, we'll see the last nonlinear effect in our course. We call it as intermodulation. So probably you are hearing about intermodulation even from the second or third class in all whenever when we wrote the components at the output of a nonlinear system using the polynomial. From then I am using this word intermodulation, right? So today we will understand intermodulation in a little more deeper way. So till now, if you consider all the previous cases, so here I have considered one signal along with the weak signal, one interferer along with the desired signal. Even before that also, we haven't considered multiple interferers appearing at the input of a receiver. But we know that it is true. Receiver will always receive a bunch of signals. So it is not that receiver will receive only the desired signal, right? Because whenever a receiver try to receive signal, there will be a lot of signals coming in, and the receiver should be good enough to process the desired signal by employing proper filters, not only at the beginning, not only at the first stage, that is not possible as I mentioned before, but also at the later stages, so that the particular desired signal will be processed faithfully, and all the other interferers, we call it as in band or out of band interferers, will be rejected. So that in that way only we should design uh, um, design a receiver. Now, to understand intermodulation, so we are taking one case over here. So what I'll consider first is, I'll assume that I'll consider two signals, right? So I'll write it like this. I'll come to this only at then. So whenever there are two interferers accompanying a desired signal, when two interferers are accompanying a desired signal, then we can talk about this intermodulation products, or how the intermodulation products are important, or how we need to study, or how we need to characterize the intermodulation terms. All right. So whenever two interferers are accompanying a desired signal, we see this phenomenon of intermodulation. So to understand this, let us first understand what is this intermodulation, right? So let me write this over here. Again, we are considering a nonlinear system with input x of t and output as y of t, and this is a nonlinear system. Now, if I am applying two signals of different frequency, say I am applying, just give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry for the delay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So when we have two signals, say one signal at frequency omega 1, another signal at frequency omega 2, right? Now when two signals of two different frequencies, when we apply this to a nonlinear system, so in every case I am telling we are applying, but there is a natural process. Whenever a receiver receive a signal, it will be actually receiving a whole bunch of signal, and we are considering two, for our convenience we are considering only two signals. Now when the two such signals of different frequencies are applied to a nonlinear system, we have seen that output will exhibit a lot of frequency components other than the harmonics, right? So definitely we expect frequencies at omega 1 and omega 2, and apart from this omega 1 and omega 2, there are certain other terms which are neither harmonics nor the nor any other terms. So those are products which comes as a result of mixing of these two signals. So both are equally spaced at omega 1 and omega 2, right? So let me write that over here. So when two signals, so are you guys following? Can I get response in chat box? All right, okay. Yeah, so when two signals of different frequencies are applied to a nonlinear system, I'll write it as a nonlinear system. Now the output exhibit frequency components other than harmonics. So if not harmonics, these terms are actually called as, this is called as intermodulation. Intermodulation terms. Now basically how does this arise? This arises from the multiplication of, or basically it is mixing. This arises from mixing of two signals inside this nonlinear system, and we can understand that from the polynomial expression when their sum is raised to a power which is greater than 1. Probably you'll be wondering what is this. This is as simple. There are two signals appearing at the input. When it passes through a nonlinear system, if those two frequencies sum are raised to a power greater than unity, for example x1 of t and x2 of t the whole square, right? So sorry, a1 cos omega 1t plus a2 cos omega 2t the whole square, that will definitely result in some new terms. That is what is meant here. So it can be of the power, any power greater than 1, it can be 2, 3 or etc. So we will understand like this. I'll consider x of t as a1 cos omega 1t plus a2 cos omega 2t, right? Then in that case y of t is, I know that it is alpha naught plus alpha 1 x of t plus alpha 2 x square t plus alpha 3 x cube t. I am again restricting to third order nonlinearity, right? Now I'm not going to write the entire terms, we have done that exercise once, but we can see that here x is sum of two signals of different frequency, that sum is raised to a power greater than 1 here also. That means this will definitely give some other terms apart from, other than harmonics. We call those terms as mixing terms, or we call them as multiplication terms, right? Or those terms are otherwise called as intermodulation term. So we call it as multiplication or mixing or intermodulation terms. Right. So how to get that? So say the frequency is omega 1 and omega 2. So when I'll get one term, when the sum is raised to a power greater than 1, I'll get one term at omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, right? And if I write that if I write that term alone, the term is actually alpha 2 a1 a2 cos omega 1 plus omega 2 into t plus alpha 2 a1 a2 cos omega 1 minus omega 2 into t. I hope you understand this. I am just writing the terms what we have considered even before this term, alpha 1 a1 a2 term, that is omega 1 plus or minus omega 2. Similarly, I have 2 omega 1 plus or minus omega 2 term. If I write the component there, it is 3 by 4 alpha 3 a1 square a2 cos 2 omega 1 plus omega 2 into t plus again 3 by 4 alpha 3 a1 square a2 cos 2 omega 1 minus 2 omega 1 minus omega 2 into t. So is there any background noise from my side? Can I get a response in chat box? All right, thank you. Yeah. So it is 2 omega 1 minus omega t, right? Similarly, I can write one more term here. It is 2 omega 2 plus or minus omega 1, which also will result in the same product, but with a small change in the amplitude value. It is 3 by 4 alpha 3 a2 square a1 cos 2 omega 2 plus omega 1 into t and 3 by 4 alpha 3 a2 square a1 cos 2 omega 2 minus omega 1 into t, right? So generally, so this is when we have taken non-linearity up to third order, and we can consider that up to any higher order, but only up to third order finds up to, if we consider up to third order, that itself is actually a good thing. So in general, I wrote that omega 1, we are looking at this term omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, right? Now I'll say that in general I can write it as p omega 1 plus or minus q omega 2, where we call this p plus q as the order of this intermodulation. We call this as intermodulation order. Similar way, what we call it as second harmonic, third harmonic, we'll also call intermodulation products as second intermodulation, third intermodulation, like that. So this is the order of intermodulation. So if the frequency is p omega 1 plus or minus q omega 2, p plus q is the intermodulation order. So in that case, here p and q both are 1, right? P is 1 and q is 1. So this is of second order, and we call this as IM2, intermodulation of second order. Similarly, in these two cases, p equals to 2 and q is equal to 1. This is of third order. We call this as IM3 products. This is also IM3 products, right? Is this clear, this idea? We'll discuss this further. There are a little more things to discuss, but can I get a few responses? Is this clear? You can put in chat box also. All right. Oh, that means, yeah, at least out of 51, many are listening, right? Yes, that's a good thing. Okay, so let me continue. So since we have considered up to third order nonlinearity, we have ended up with two intermodulation terms. One is IM2 terms and the second is IM3 terms, right? So now let us consider the practical aspect of this. So we started that with the idea that if when there are two interferers accompanying a discharge signal, what will happen? So what will happen here? Okay, I'll just redraw this. So this is omega. These are two signals here, say which is at omega 1 and omega 2, and where this a1 and a2. For the time being, I'll consider that a1 a2 both are equal to a, right? That is applied to a nonlinear system. This is nonlinear system. Now at the output, I am looking at the intermodulation terms. So before drawing the intermodulation terms, first let me draw the terms at omega 1 and omega 2. I am drawing it little amplified because that is what we, if this is an amplifier, if an amplifier, omega 1 and omega 2 will be at a, will have a larger amplitude, right? Now along with this omega 1 and omega 2, we will have the products omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, 2 omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, and 2 omega 2 plus or minus omega 1. So all the products can be arranged here. Now I'll just give one example here. Let my omega 1 be 2.4 giga and omega 2 be 2.44 giga. So just give me the values of omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, 2 omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, and 2 omega 2 plus or minus omega 1. Can I get responses in the chat box? Can I get some response? So what is omega 1 plus omega 2 and what omega 1 minus omega 2? Yes, it is 4.84. Yes, 4.84 gigahertz and 0.04 giga, which is 40 mega, right? Yes. That is omega 1 plus or minus omega 2. What about 2 omega 1 plus or minus omega 2? Yes, let me just note down. This one is 7.24 giga and 2.36 giga. What about 2 omega 2 plus or minus omega 1? Is this right what I'm taking? 7.28 giga and 2.48 giga. Whether the frequencies I have written down are right? Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, so these are the products at the output, right? So now when I mark these components, one is, so if you look at omega 1 plus or minus omega 2 terms, well, some component is coming actually at 4.84 giga. So let me mark it somewhere over here. So some component, definitely it will be of a lower amplitude, right? So this is at 4.84 giga, and the other term is actually at 0.04 giga, which is at very low frequency, say somewhere here. This is 0.04 giga is here, right? So what are these terms? So these two terms are IM2 terms. So this is IM2, this is also IM2 term, right? And these two are the fundamental terms. Now if I mark 2 omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, yeah, if I mark 2 omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, I'll get at 7.24. Yeah, 1 I'll get at 2.36, right? So 2.36 is very close. It is somewhere here. I'll use a different color for that. This is 2.36 giga. And the other one is 7.24. 7.24 is little farther. This is 7.24 giga. Then 7.28 will be still further there. And you have 2.48. 2.48 is very close, somewhere here. 2.48 giga. Right. So if I look at these products, I understand that this is IM3. These two are IM3, but those are the difference terms. And these two are also IM3. Those are the sum terms, right? Now, now to make the picture a little more clear, so what we have considered in the beginning is if there are two interferers coming inside a nonlinear system, but now if these two are interferers, and if I am considering that there is a desired signal, which is, this is the desired signal, say there is a desired signal which is happen to appear at omega naught, right? And now there are two interferers accompanying this desired signal. Now what happens? If you try to locate this omega naught will be falling somewhere here, right? Omega naught will be falling somewhere there with amplification, right? Now you can see that the IM3 term, or the difference term that is coming as a result of intermodulation, is falling. It can happen, right? We cannot rule out this what to say, this phenomena. There are all possibilities that if there are interferers coming closer to the desired frequency, those can produce intermodulation terms, and that can actually fall on the band of interest. Now what is happening here? If it is falling on the desired signal is actually getting corrupted. So desired signal will be corrupted, right? So that is actually a serious condition, right? Because you have a desired signal, and after processing it, you are getting some other signal which is strong enough, and that can corrupt this desired signal, that is leading to actually an undesirable situation. So that means the nonlinearity is affecting the design of a system in a greater extent, especially intermodulation terms. And if you look at the intermodulation terms, comparing with IM2 and IM3, Nikhil, is omega naught 2 considered as a desired component? Yeah. So what I did here is, I probably I understand some of you will have doubt from where this omega naught has come into picture. So see, analyzing three signals together and manipulating and getting the frequencies is in fact, it is a tedious job. So what I have done here is, I have taken two signals at omega 1 and omega 2, and I have given the explanation in the way that those two are interferers. So even if it is interferer or not, when it is processed by a nonlinear system, it will give a lot of components. I have listed out all the components at the output. Then I am now bringing in the actual desired signal, which is already there, right? I did not consider this desired signal in the beginning. So in fact, this amplifier is actually to process this desired signal, but it happened that along with this desired signal, there are two strong interferers. And by looking at the intermodulation products, there are all chances that some components will definitely fall onto this desired signal, which can corrupt the desired signal. Right, Nikhil, I hope, okay, yes. I can take questions on this at the end for sure. Now if you look at this phenomena, since your desired signal is corrupted by a greater extent, and since this happened as a result of non-linearity, we need to characterize this. We need to characterize this non-linearity. Characterize in the sense, we need to, as in a similar way how we define total harmonic distortion, or how we define 1 dB compression point, there should also be a characteristic, or there should also be a performance metric that will put a cap on this phenomena, or which will allow us to work through this non-linearity, right? So that performance metric is called as, or basically that is to characterize this IM3 product. So to characterize this IM3 products, or IM3 terms, we are introducing a new metric, and we call that metric as third intercept point. Third intercept point. I'll explain. Probably we'll look at this only in the next class. Third intercept point, we call this as IP3, intercept point 3. So why it is called as intercept point is because of the reason how we are arriving at that metric. So we call it as IP3, or we so as in an 1 dB compression point, as we refer at input and output side in a similar way, we refer IP3 at input side as input intercept point 3, IIP3, or if I am defining at output, it is OIP3, output intercept point, right? Now if you are expressing in so this is input intercept point 3, and this is output intercept point. Now if I am writing in terms of power in dBm, we usually use the notation as PIIP3. There is some other notation, we'll come to that later. right? So this is what is happening. Probably you have understood that out of all the components, even out of IM2 and IM3 is critical. In IM3 also different terms are actually critical, and that is falling. That is actually coming closer to the fundamental. And why it is why closer to the fundamental is important is because your desired signal will be, your interference will be close to the desired signal. So the difference IM3 products also can actually uh, can fall on this. Yes, Nagaraj, I got your question. Can we not filter the input signal before processing? Yes. Probably I answered this question once. I'll give more clarity because this is a natural question coming in our mind, right? Since we have all these sort of problems, why can't we filter out and why can't we work only with the desired signal, right? Now the problem is, as I mentioned just before, for a receiver, whatever it is the case, for a receiver cannot receive a single signal. Say if this is a desired signal, we cannot design a receiver to select only this signal. Now why am I saying that we cannot do that? We can do that only if we have a proper filter, as Nagaraj suggested. Yes, if we have a proper filter with a very good cutoff frequency, we can do that. But now what is the problem? Say you have a signal here. Now I think you remember this, or we will look at this again. Now any filter is characterized by something called as selectivity. Yes, what is the name? Is it because the obtained signal power low that we must amplify first? Not only that, see, amplification is required and that we have to do that. But the thing is, we cannot design a filter that can filter out only a single component, right? So there are multiple things here. I'll explain one by one. One thing is, as a receiver cannot receive a channel what we call as the desired signal. Rather, a receiver can always receive only a band. Receiver cannot select a channel. The reason is, if I want to select a channel, the selectivity of the filter what I'm designing should be very, very high. So selectivity is often described by this Q factor, right? Now getting practical filters with high Q factor is actually a huge task. Or I can say getting very high selective filters, there are a lot of trade-offs also there, right? So say for example, now the problem is our center frequency, say for example this is centered around 2.4 giga. Now I want to, if the bandwidth what I'm looking for the filter is very, very small, then the Q factor, so since the bandwidth is in the denominator, you are actually increasing or pushing the Q factor into a very high value. So practically getting such high Q factor for a filter is, I will not say it is impossible. It is a very tedious task. Yes, yes. I hope you understood my difficulty, what I'm trying to say, right? Thank you, Nagaraj. Yes, high Q factor is very hard. Do you have any further questions on that? So for that reason, we will do this filtering process. Generally, we will do this filtering process in different stages. So that is why we employ something called as a band select filter. That is actually to select a band. And later down in the stage, we will use something called as a channel select filter. This is only one architecture I'm talking about, right? Where we use this multiple filters to select is only one. There are different ways receivers can be designed. There are the various classifications, like image reject receivers are there, direct conversions are there, super heterodyne receivers are there. So in general, I can say designing high Q factor filters is very hard. That is the reason why receiver has to receive, or receiver has to undergo all this nonlinear effects. Yes, thank you, Nagaraj. All right, so we will continue this and we will see how we are arriving at this performance metric of IP3 in a third intercept point, and how we can use that further in the coming class. So before that, yeah, only with that I can proceed with the numerical. So what I'll do is I'll just have you seen the intermodulation products in simulator now, right? We have looked only at the harmonics. So probably now I can take questions and then I can show the simulation. or if you can wait for a while, I'll just complete the simulation and then I'll come back and take questions. All right, whether the screen is visible? Yeah, another question. So here we considered or assumed that IP3 will affect our signal. What if in a scenario? Very good question, Nikhil. Yes, I want to answer that. But one correction, it is not that we are assuming that IP3 will affect our signal. IP3 is only a performance metric. The intermodulation IM3 terms will affect our signal. Yes, IM3. Yes, I understand. What if in a scenario IP2 components affects the signal? Will the performance metric used be in the same in that case? No, it is not same. The performance metric is called as IP2. Yeah, as you wrote, the first one is a third intercept point. The other one we call it as second intercept point. But now one difference is, yes, as you told, we cannot completely dismiss the effect of IM2. IM2 also will have some effects, because you can see that IM2 terms are coming at omega 1 plus or minus omega 2, right? Yes, such non-linearities are in fact taken into consideration by developing or by getting another performance metric. We call it as IP2. Yes, second intercept point. That also we'll see. Yes. Yeah, so the same simulation example is what I'm showing here. This is an amplifier circuit now. Now what I'll do here is I'll go for the, I have already launched ADL here, and the same harmonic balance analysis is set over here. But one difference is, you can see the setup here for the harmonic balance analysis. I have kept the number of tones as 2, because I want to know what are the components coming at the output of a non-linear system, in this case an amplifier, when you have 2 tones at the input. So I have marked it as FRF1 and FRF2, and those frequencies I already have given here the values. One is 2.4 giga and another one is 2.44 giga, with both with same amplitude I'm giving, which is minus 40 dBm. Right. Now I also have given, yeah, the frequencies are same. You can give any number of harmonics here. So I just looked for 3 harmonics. That means I'll get the recurring products for 3 harmonics. And the other things I am keeping as it is. I'm not sweeping anything. Previously in the last class, you remember, we were sweeping actually in order to obtain gain compression. We were sweeping PRF. That we are not doing. I'm just keeping this unchecked. And after this, I've just saved this and I'll run it for once. Yeah, all right. There are no errors. So I'll go to results, direct plot, main form. And here you have this HB analysis. I'll keep this in replace mode and I'll go for the function power. So what I'm going to show here is the output components. So I look at the power terms in dBm. Now I have to select the output port, which is a fixed resistance port R1. I'm looking at the spectrum. And if I click frequency, I can see all the frequencies listed on. Okay, that is not seen here. So let me look at spectrum with dBm and I'll select the port. So when I do that, I'm getting actually, yeah, this is actually, I have zoomed in. Yeah. So this is the entire spectrum what I'm getting here, right? Now, let us, I have taken harmonics here as 3. But if you look at the components, we will get so now the system what I have is a amplifier which is amplifying 2.4 gigahertz signal. Now if I look at the various components, probably till this, or here also we can see this is giga, right? Okay, yeah. So so we have listed only omega some and different components with respect to omega 1. I just given run for 3 harmonics. Now I have to get a component. This is 2.4 gigahertz term, which is with a minus 20 dBm as the amplitude. The input what I have given is minus 40, so that means there is a 20 dB gain which is provided by the system. Now along with this, or very close to this 2.4 giga, you can see some other frequency components. So this is what we are talking about. Now say this 2.4 giga is your desired signal. Say this is 2.4 giga, but you have, yeah, yeah, in this case we have given two signals, and 2.44 is the signal which is away, and the amplifier is not giving proper amplification to that. But very close to that you have other signals, one at 2.48 that can be considered as 2 omega 2 minus omega 1 term. And similarly on the other side you will get something at 2.36. Yes, this is 2.36, which is again the other intermodulation term, which is 2 omega 1 minus omega. So this is 2 omega 1 minus omega 2, and this term is 2 omega 2 minus omega 1, right? So these two terms are appearing very close to this desired signal. Right now rejecting the other signals is quite hard, because selecting only this tone is of a huge task to design a filter. Yeah, so these are the intermodulation products which are coming at the output of this nonlinear system. Apart from this, since I have selected, I have given 3 number of harmonics, you will get the corresponding frequencies and the sum and terms at all the other frequencies. 2.4 you will get at 4.8 you will get, then you will also get at yeah, the 3 times 4 times, yeah, those values you will get. Is this clear? Now I understand these simulations are just I am showing for familiarity, so that you can also work on these things. This will just give a familiarity, and whatever we discussed through a nonlinear system, I'm just showing how the outputs are appearing, right? So that's all for today. Now I'll stop here and I can take questions now.